Few people realize that the North Sea is not just a body of water, but a boundary where land, wind, and sea constantly reshape each other. This place is never still. Tides, storms, and currents continuously transform the coastline, ensuring it never truly stays the same over time. Life along the coast is built around natural rhythms, where people adapt to strong winds, cold waters, and conditions that are always shifting. What stands out is the balance between control and acceptance, as humans both build defenses and learn to live with these constant changes. Overall, this sea is not just a landscape, but a dynamic system where nature and humanity continuously interact across generations. Bamborough Castle stands on basalt cliffs about 148 feet high, overlooking the North Sea, covering nearly 22 acres along the Northumberland coast. When the tide rises, waves surge and crash directly against the rock base, creating a dramatic scene. When the tide recedes, a sandy beach stretching hundreds of feet is revealed, reflecting the image of the ancient castle. This constant change makes Bamborough seem to move in rhythm with the ocean. This structure has a history of more than 1,400 years, originating in the 6th century during the Anglo-Saxon Kingdom of Northumbria. Through many reconstructions, especially in the 12th and 19th centuries, stone walls were built up to 10 feet thick to strengthen defense. Watchtowers over 65 feet high helped control the entire coastal area. Its scale and solid construction make it one of the most prominent coastal castles in England. The surrounding area is home to more than 200 species of seabirds and coastal organisms. Flocks of seagulls, cormorants, and terns frequently appear around the cliffs and wide beaches. The coastal ecosystem also provides breeding grounds for many fish and small animals. The combination of nature and architecture creates a landscape that is both wild and rich in ecological value. The castle's geographical location is about 50 miles north of the city of Newcastle, along a coastline stretching over 3 miles in Northumberland. The area includes wide sandy beaches, dunes, and the village of Bamborough, with only a few hundred residents. The surrounding space plays an important role in shaping the region's distinctive landscape. Many activities such as tourism, research, and photography take place here. Whitby Abbey is located on a high cliff overlooking the North Sea in the town of Whitby, in North Yorkshire, in northeastern England. The structure stands at an elevation of about 197 feet above sea level, allowing views over the entire coastline and the town below. The abbey site covers about 2 hectares, including the main ruins and surrounding land. This location provided both religious significance and strategic advantages during the medieval period. The abbey was founded in 657 and was once an important religious center in England. Most of the remaining structures were built in the 13th century in Gothic style, with tall arched windows and large stone pillars. After the 16th century, the site declined due to historical changes and religious reforms. However, many stone walls and main structures still remain as evidence of its original scale. The area surrounding the abbey is home to various seabirds and coastal plant species. Cliffs ranging from about 164 to 230 feet provide safe nesting grounds for many birds. Vegetation mainly consists of low grasses and shrubs adapted to strong winds and poor soil conditions. The combination of terrain and climate creates a stable coastal ecosystem. The abbey is currently managed by English Heritage and attracts about 200,000 visitors each year. Visitors usually climb more than 190 stone steps from the town to reach the site. Activities include exploring history, architecture, and enjoying the surrounding sea views. Conservation efforts are regularly carried out to reduce the impact of weather and erosion. Seahouses Harbour opens like a quiet pause within the windy North Sea, where small boats rest behind protective breakwaters. Located in the village of Seahouses in Northumberland, the harbour lies about 50 miles north of the city of Newcastle. Covering only a few hectares, the space is tightly organised between piers, walkways, and sheltered water. The contrast between the vast open sea and the compact harbour creates a sense of both calmness and isolation. Unlike large ports, this structure developed gradually based on the needs of local fishermen since the 18th century. Stone piers and harbour walls have been reinforced multiple times to withstand strong waves from the North Sea. The water depth ranges around 10 to 16 feet, suitable for small fishing boats and tourist vessels. Over time, the harbour has maintained a modest scale, adapting naturally to its environment. Daily life here is closely tied to the sea, from fishing activities to the presence of birds and marine animals. Seagulls and cormorants often fly low over the water, while seals occasionally appear near the harbour. Fish gather around the area due to the abundance of food. The entire ecosystem reflects a continuous interaction between humans and the marine environment. Boats departing from the harbor often head toward the Farne Islands, located about 1 to 2 miles away, with trips lasting 1 to 2 hours depending on the route. The harbor walkway is not long, but becomes lively during peak seasons, attracting tens of thousands of visitors each year. Restaurants, small shops, and tour services create a continuous flow of activity along the waterfront. Operations focus on maintaining maritime safety and coordinating vessel movement. Bovbjerg Lighthouse is a lighthouse located on the west coast of Jutland, about 7.5 miles from the town of Lemvig. The structure was built in 1877, has a height of approximately 85 feet, and is situated on the Bovbjerg Cliff, which rises about 131 feet above sea level. From this position, the lighthouse light can be seen more than 18.6 miles out into the North Sea. The entire surrounding area consists of open land, with very few structures, forming a continuous space along the coastline. The terrain at Bovbjerg mainly consists of steep cliffs combined with narrow sandy beach sections. These cliffs extend continuously for about 3.7 to 4.3 miles, with slopes ranging from 30 to 60 degrees. Waves directly impact the base of the cliffs, gradually changing the shape of the coastline over time. Some sections show clear erosion, retreating inland by about 8 to 16 inches per year. Movement in this area usually follows paths ranging from 1.2 to 3.1 miles along the edge of the cliff. Walkers must adjust their speed and direction depending on the terrain, especially near the edge. The wide space and lack of clear landmarks make distances feel longer than they actually are. Sylt Island beaches extends about 23.6 to 24.9 miles along the western coast of Sylt Island, directly bordering the North Sea. The beach width ranges from about 164 feet to over 656 feet, depending on location and tidal cycle. The average slope is only about 2 to 5 degrees, allowing waves to travel far inland across a wide area. The entire coastline forms a nearly continuous stretch without major interruptions in terrain. The sand surface mainly consists of fine grains measuring approximately 0.008 to 0.02 inches, which are easily affected by wind. The top layer of sand can shift by several feet per day in exposed areas. Within about 32 to 98 feet from the waterline, the sand is typically more compact and stable. These variations create distinct horizontal bands across the beach surface. Movement along the beach typically takes 1 to 3 hours for distances of about 1.9 to 5 miles. Due to the lack of fixed landmarks, position is mainly estimated based on distance traveled. Visitor distribution is uneven, with higher concentration near main access points. Most of the area remains open and minimally segmented. Craster Village Harbour is nestled along the Northumberland coastline, about 43 miles north of the city of Newcastle. The harbour covers approximately 2 to 3 hectares, with a quay length of about 394 to 492 feet, accommodating dozens of small boats. The village of Craster has only around 300 to 400 residents, forming a small coastal community. The open space between the village and the sea creates a strong connection with the natural environment. The harbour was established in the 18th century, mainly serving traditional fishing activities of the local community. Stone breakwaters about 3 to 6 feet thick were built to reduce the impact of strong winds and waves. The average water depth ranges from about 7 to 13 feet, suitable for fishing boats measuring around 20 to 33 feet in length. The number of active vessels typically ranges from 10 to 20, maintaining a small and stable scale over time. Activities at the harbour follow tidal cycles with 2 clear high and low tides each day. Seagulls and cormorants often appear in groups of hundreds around the area. Nearshore waters support various small fish, crabs, and bottom-dwelling organisms. The interaction between human activity and the environment forms a simple but sustainable coastal ecosystem. From the harbour, coastal paths extend over 3 miles, connecting to Dunstanburgh Castle, located about 1 mile to the north. Each year, the area attracts approximately 50,000 to 80,000 visitors. Local restaurants and small shops mainly serve seafood, especially smoked fish. Management focuses on preserving the traditional landscape and maintaining development at an appropriate scale. At Cuxhaven Dunes, the sand surface is not flat, but divided into small ripples measuring about 7.9 to 31.5 inches in length and about 0.8 to 2 inches in height. These ripples form along wind direction and can change shape within a few hours. Across areas of about 0.6 to 1.9 miles, alternating zones of fine and coarser sand can be observed. Fine sand areas shift easily, while larger grains remain more stable under the same conditions. On the top layer, sand can shift several feet per day, while the layer below remains nearly unchanged. This creates a thin, moving layer over a more stable base. Under strong wind, sand grains move in short bursts rather than continuously. Surface change occurs in steps rather than as a constant flow. Over a travel distance of about 1.2 to 2.5 miles, small features such as wind marks, sand grooves, and accumulation zones gradually vary along segments. There are no clear boundaries between areas, only gradual transitions. These changes can only be recognized through continuous observation. The surface does not remain still, but it also does not change in an immediately obvious way. White cliffs of Dover stretch for about 8 miles along the southeastern coast of England, facing the English Channel, which is nearly 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. These cliffs, averaging 295 to 360 feet in height, stand out with their bright white color due to chalk composition exceeding 95%. When sunlight hits them, the surface reflects strongly, making the entire area appear to glow against the deep blue sea. This landscape has become a natural symbol of the United Kingdom for hundreds of years. These cliffs were formed around 70 to 100 million years ago from layers of marine microorganisms that accumulated to hundreds of feet thick. The erosion process from ocean waves, at an average rate of a few inches per year, continuously shapes steep faces and unique formations. The nearly vertical slopes make many areas inaccessible from below. This combination of long geological time and ocean impact has created a distinctive terrain. This coastal area is home to more than 20 species of seabirds, including gulls, cormorants, and seabirds. On top of the cliffs, coastal grasslands covering hundreds of hectares provide habitat for dozens of salt and wind-tolerant plant species. Each year, thousands of birds nest here, especially in spring and summer. This biodiversity helps maintain ecological balance in the entire coastal region. The management system here is handled by organizations such as the National Trust, with about 1 to 2 million visitors annually. The area includes over 6 miles of walking trails along the cliff tops, supporting research and ecotourism. Visibility from high points can reach 18 to 25 miles under favorable weather conditions. Monitoring of erosion and environmental protection activities is regularly maintained. Scheveningen Pier is a structure extending about 1,253 feet into the North Sea, built to expand access from the shore into deeper water. The current structure was renovated from an original design dating to the mid-20th century. The pier is elevated on a system of pillars to allow waves and currents to pass underneath. This reduces direct water force acting on the entire structure. The main body has a width of about 66 to 98 feet and is divided into multiple functional levels. These areas include walkways, service spaces, and observation zones. Load is distributed evenly across support pillars spaced several feet apart. This design allows the structure to withstand wind and wave forces in open sea conditions. The support pillars are embedded deep into the sandy seabed to provide stability. When waves strike, energy is dispersed across multiple pillars instead of concentrating at a single point. This reduces the risk of structural damage. The distribution of force helps maintain long-term operation. At the far end of the pier, open areas allow direct observation of the sea from a distance away from shore. At this point, differences in wave height and wind direction compared to near-shore areas can be observed. This provides conditions for direct monitoring of marine environmental factors. The structure functions as both an access point and an observation platform above the water. St. Abb's Head projects into the North Sea like a rugged headland, located in southeastern Scotland, about 40 miles from Edinburgh. Cliffs ranging from about 262 to over 328 feet drop sharply into the sea, forming a clear boundary between land and water. When strong winds blow, waves crash against the rock base, creating long streaks of white foam. This landscape conveys a harsh yet vibrant sense of nature. This area was formed from ancient volcanic rock about 350 million years ago. The hard rock layers have been shaped over time by erosion, forming steep cliffs and a headland extending into the sea. The site covers around 60 hectares, including grasslands and sloping rock surfaces. The combination of geology and weathering processes clearly defines the current structure of the area. More than 60,000 seabirds inhabit this location, including gulls, cormorants, and many other species. The high cliffs provide safe nesting areas, while deep coastal waters offer abundant food sources. During breeding season, the entire area becomes active with constant movement and sound. This ecosystem plays an important role in the North Sea environment. The area lies within a temperate, oceanic climate, with average temperatures ranging from 41 to 57 degrees Fahrenheit and strong winds throughout the year. The terrain includes cliffs, coastal grasslands, and deep waters, forming multiple landscape layers. Its outward position into the sea makes it an ideal natural observation point. Ecological research and bird monitoring activities are frequently conducted here. Calais Lighthouse appears differently depending on the viewing distance over the sea surface. At distances beyond about 3.1 to 6.2 miles, only the top section and the light are easily recognizable. As the observer moves closer, the full tower height of about 174 feet gradually becomes visible on the horizon. This change allows estimation of relative position during approach. A low viewing angle from the water reduces the perceived height of the structure. In some conditions, the base may be obscured by surface curvature or wave movement. This makes the lighthouse appear detached from the ground. As distance decreases, the full geometric proportion becomes visible again. The emitted light operates in a fixed cycle, creating a repeating signal pattern. As it rotates, the beam appears briefly before disappearing again. This interruption distinguishes it from continuous light sources. Recognition relies on timing rather than brightness alone. Under changing visibility conditions, different parts of the structure become clear at different times. The light is often detected before the tower itself is fully visible. This reverses the usual order of recognition between form and signal. The lighthouse functions as a multi-layered identification system. Flamborough Head Lighthouse stands on the edge of White Cliffs in Yorkshire, facing directly toward the North Sea and rising about 89 feet above the ground. From this position, the lighthouse beam can reach dozens of miles, cutting through fog and darkness at sea. The chalk cliffs rise steeply, creating a strong contrast with the grey-blue ocean. The open setting makes the structure appear as a clear marker between land and sea. The structure was built in 1806 to replace an older lighthouse from the 17th century. The round stone tower stands about 89 feet tall, designed to withstand strong winds and harsh coastal weather. The lighting system originally used oil and was later upgraded through multiple technological stages. This development reflects advancements in maritime navigation over more than 2 centuries. The surrounding area is home to more than 200,000 seabirds of various species. The high cliffs and narrow crevices provide ideal nesting and breeding conditions. Deep coastal waters supply abundant food, supporting a high level of biodiversity. This ecosystem is considered one of the most important seabird habitats in England. The Flamborough Head headland extends several miles into the sea, forming a prominent point on geographical maps. The area has a temperate oceanic climate, with average temperatures ranging from 43 to 61 degrees Fahrenheit and strong winds throughout the year. The terrain includes chalk cliffs, grasslands, and deep coastal waters. These characteristics make it an important site for natural observation and coastal research. Dunnottar Castle is located on a rocky headland along the coast of Aberdeenshire in northeastern Scotland, about 15 miles from the city of Aberdeen. The castle stands at an elevation of nearly 164 feet above sea level, surrounded by steep cliffs and strong waves of the North Sea. The site covers an area of about 1.4 hectares, creating a natural defensive position that is difficult to access. The landscape here has a rugged appearance, combining rock, sea, and strong winds, typical of the Atlantic coastal region. This structure has a history spanning over 1,000 years, with the earliest records dating back to the 7th century. Most of the existing buildings were constructed in the 15th to 16th centuries, including the Great Hall, watchtowers, and residential quarters. The castle was attacked multiple times, including a siege in 1651 that lasted several months. Thick stone walls and solid construction helped the structure withstand warfare and harsh weather conditions. The area surrounding the castle is home to various seabirds, such as cormorants and gulls. Cliffs ranging from about 131 to 197 feet high provide safe nesting sites for thousands of birds each year. Vegetation here mainly consists of coastal grasses and low plants adapted to strong winds and poor soil. The combination of terrain and climate creates a distinctive coastal ecosystem typical of Scotland. The castle is currently privately managed and receives about 100,000 to 150,000 visitors annually. Visitors must walk along a narrow path approximately 656 feet long to reach the main site on the headland. Activities focus on exploring architecture, military history, and the surrounding scenery. Conservation efforts are regularly maintained to reduce the impact of weather and natural erosion. Spurn Point is a narrow sand spit located at the mouth of the Humber Estuary in eastern England, stretching about 3.4 miles into the North Sea. The width of the landform ranges from about 164 to 328 feet, creating a thin and highly dynamic natural structure. This area was formed from sand sediments accumulated over thousands of years under the influence of currents and waves. The landscape here reflects a coastal sand formation constantly shifting over time. This sand spit is mainly shaped by deposition and erosion, with changes reaching several feet per year. The average elevation is only about 10 to 16 feet above sea level, making the area vulnerable to flooding during storms or high tides. Historically, Spurn Point has been breached and reformed multiple times due to major storms. As a result, the landform remains unstable and continuously evolving. This area is home to more than 250 species of birds, especially important for migratory species. During autumn and spring, tens of thousands of birds pass through this location as a resting point. In addition, surrounding waters support gray seals and various fish species. The ecosystem here holds significant value for biological research and conservation. Spurn Point is currently managed as a nature reserve, attracting tens of thousands of visitors each year. The access route stretches about 3 miles, but is often disrupted by erosion and flooding. Activities include bird watching, environmental research, and coastal exploration. Management efforts focus on monitoring landform changes and protecting this sensitive ecosystem. Base Rock stands out as a massive volcanic rock in the North Sea. Located about 1.2 miles off the coast of Scotland and rising nearly 351 feet high. From a distance, the island appears like a giant white mass due to tens of thousands of seabirds covering its surface. When waves rise, water crashes against the steep rock base, creating a powerful drishya. The contrast between dark rock and white birds makes Bass Rock a uniquely striking landscape. This island originated from volcanic rock formed about 320 million years ago during the Carboniferous period. With an area of only about 3 hectares, the terrain consists mainly of steep cliffs that are nearly inaccessible from many sides. A lighthouse built in 1902 stands about 66 feet tall to assist ships navigating the area. Its distinctive geological structure makes Bass Rock one of the most remarkable rocky islands in the United Kingdom. The site is home to more than 150,000 northern gannets, forming one of the largest colonies in the world. During breeding season, the number of birds increases significantly, covering almost the entire island surface. Other seabirds, such as gulls and cormorants, are also present. This ecosystem plays an important role in the North Sea food chain. The island is located near the town of North Berwick, about 25 miles east of Edinburgh. The surrounding waters are rich in nutrients, supporting seabirds in hunting and breeding. The temperate marine climate has average temperatures ranging from 41 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit, providing suitable conditions for ecosystem development. Bird watching and biological research activities are often carried out in this area. Farne Islands are located off the coast of Northumberland in northeastern England, consisting of about 15 to 28 islands depending on the tide. This archipelago covers an area of nearly 320 hectares, featuring low, rocky formations and sandy patches. The distance from the mainland to the islands is only about 1 to 2 miles, making access by boat relatively easy. The landscape here has a wild appearance, strongly influenced by sea winds and tides. The islands were formed from dolerite rock, dating back around 290 million years, with low and relatively flat terrain. Their average elevation is only about 33 to 66 feet above sea level, causing many areas to be submerged during high tide. Continuous wave erosion reshapes the islands over time. Some larger islands, such as Inner Farne and Staple Island, serve as ecological centers. This archipelago is home to more than 20 species of seabirds, with a total population of around 200,000 individuals during the breeding season. Notable species include gulls, cormorants, and puffins, with puffins numbering in the tens of thousands. In addition, the surrounding waters host over 3,000 grey seals. This richness makes the Farne Islands one of the most important seabird reserves in England. The area is managed by the National Trust, attracting tens of thousands of visitors each year. Only certain islands, such as Inner Farne, are open seasonally to protect sensitive ecosystems. Boat tours usually last about 2 to 3 hours and include wildlife observation. Conservation efforts focus on monitoring bird populations and limiting human impact. RSP Bempton Cliffs stretch along the Yorkshire coast like a massive white wall of rock, rising from about 295 to over 394 feet and extending roughly 3.7 miles. These vertical cliffs drop straight into the North Sea, where waves constantly strike the base and create streaks of white foam. From above, the boundary between land and sea appears sharply defined like a geological cross-section. The open space gives the site a sense of both grandeur and isolation. The chalk layers here were formed from marine sediments, deposited tens of millions of years ago. After being uplifted from the seabed, they were gradually eroded, exposing steep vertical faces with clearly defined stratification. The entire area covers about 200 hectares, including coastal grasslands and rocky slopes. These geological traces help explain the formation of the present landscape. More than 500,000 seabirds gather here, turning the cliffs into a vast network of nesting sites. Gannets, puffins, and cormorants make up a large portion of the population, creating extremely high biological density. At the base, deep waters provide abundant fish for the entire colony. During breeding season, sound and movement from the birds dominate the entire space. Along this coastline, winds from the North Sea blow continuously with strong intensity, combined with high humidity that accelerates visible weathering processes. Average temperatures range from 43 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit, supporting stable living conditions for seabirds. Elevated paths allow observation from multiple vantage points. Human presence is carefully managed to minimize impact on the ecosystem. Berwick-upon-Tweed town walls surround the coastal town like a continuous stone arc stretching nearly 0.9 miles, located beside the mouth of the River Tweed. The walls, rising about 39 to 49 feet high, create a clear boundary between the inner space and the surrounding landscape. From above, the town appears as a contained structure that still opens outward toward the sea. The combination of river, sea, and architecture creates a strong, transitional environment. The structure was mainly built in the 16th century to strengthen defensive capabilities along the border region. The walls, 7 to 13 feet thick, are combined with projecting bastions that extend the field of view. Designed in the Italian fortification style, the layout allows control over multiple directions of attack. These features demonstrate the advanced military engineering of the Renaissance period. The interior space within the walls is not completely isolated from the surroundings, but maintains a connection with the natural environment. Walkways, grassy areas, and open wall sections create conditions for birds and plants to thrive. Nearby, the River Tweed provides water and habitat for many species. This interaction between natural and constructed elements forms a flexible, spatial system. Moving along the walls creates a continuous sequence of experiences, as perspectives shift with each curve and change in elevation. Some points open toward the river mouth, while others focus inward on the town. The spatial rhythm changes constantly without repetition. The entire structure functions as an observational route encircling the urban space. North York Moors coast stretches along the northeastern coast of England as a continuous transition between upland plateau and ocean, extending about 25 miles. Cliffs ranging from about 164 to over 656 feet alternate with small bays and narrow sandy beaches. From above, the terrain forms gentle curves before dropping sharply into the North Sea. This variation creates a landscape with strong visual contrast. The area was formed from sedimentary rock layers dating back hundreds of millions of years, including shale, sandstone, and limestone. Marine erosion has shaped features such as steep cliffs, fractures, and coastal caves. The coastal section within the national park covers more than 193 square miles. These geological elements clearly record the long formation history of the region. The ecosystem here is diverse, combining grasslands, sparse woodland, and marine environments. Many seabirds, small mammals, and marine species inhabit the area. Coastal waters provide abundant food sources, while elevated terrain offers safe shelter. This biodiversity makes the area an important part of the coastal ecosystem of England. Along the shoreline, small fishing villages such as Whitby and Robin Hood's Bay are scattered, creating a visible human presence within the natural landscape. A temperate oceanic climate with average temperatures ranging from 43 to 61 degrees Fahrenheit and strong sea winds directly influences life and the environment. Cliffside paths allow observation from multiple vantage points. The interaction between nature and human activity creates a constantly changing space. Preikestolen is a famous cliff located in Rogaland in southwestern Norway, overlooking the deep and narrow Lysefjord. The cliff rises about 1,982 feet above sea level, forming a nearly square flat surface measuring approximately 82 by 82 feet. This area is about 25 miles from the city of Stavanger and attracts a large number of visitors each year. The landscape combines rocky mountains, fjords, and forests to create a striking natural setting. This cliff was formed by glacial processes around 10,000 years ago, when massive ice sheets eroded and separated the rock formation. The structure is mainly composed of solid granite, which is highly resistant to weathering. Natural cracks still exist, but the main rock mass has remained stable for thousands of years. The surrounding terrain includes steep slopes and valleys shaped by long-term geological activity. The area around Prekestolen features a mountain forest ecosystem with tree species such as pine and birch. Wildlife includes deer, foxes, and mountain birds, adapted to cold climates. Average temperatures range from about 32 degrees Fahrenheit in winter to 59 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. Despite harsh conditions, biodiversity remains stable in this environment. The hiking trail to the summit is about 5 miles round trip, with an elevation gain of around 1,148 to 1,312 feet. Each year, approximately 300,000 to 350,000 visitors complete this journey. The average hiking time is 3 to 4 hours, depending on weather and physical condition. Management focuses on ensuring safety and minimizing environmental impact from tourism. Jæren beaches stretch along the southwestern coast of Norway like a continuous strip of sand extending about 43.5 miles. Unlike many rocky coastal areas of Norway, this region stands out with its flat, wide, and relatively uninterrupted sandy beaches. Waves from the North Sea constantly roll in, creating long white foam lines on the shallow water. The open landscape ensures the horizon is always visible and unobstructed. On the wide sandy strip, traces of human activity appear through walking, surfing, and shore fishing. Small paths and access points are scattered along the coast without disrupting the overall landscape. Moving along the beach, the perception of space changes with light, wind, and tides. This interaction creates a continuous experience between humans and nature. Lister Lighthouse is located on the Lister Peninsula in southern Norway, facing the vast North Sea with a rare flat coastal landscape. The lighthouse stands about 112 feet tall, with its light visible from approximately 22 miles offshore. This area is about 56 miles west of the city of Kristiansand. The open terrain, with few rocky elevations, provides wide and clear visibility for maritime navigation. The structure was first built in 1836 and has undergone several renovations to adapt to harsh weather conditions. The current tower is constructed from stone and metal, designed to withstand strong winds and high humidity. The lighting system has been upgraded with modern technology while preserving its traditional structure. Over nearly 2 centuries, the lighthouse has maintained its important guiding role. The lighthouse is now a destination for tourism and nature research, attracting about 80,000 to 120,000 visitors annually. Visitors can easily access the area due to the flat terrain and convenient paths. The site also includes an information center and bird observation points. Management focuses on preserving the landscape and maintaining lighthouse operations. Lindesnes Lighthouse is located at the southernmost point of Norway, where the North Sea and the Skagerrak meet, creating an area with constant wind and strong waves. The lighthouse stands on low rocky ground and rises about 52 feet high, with a light visible from approximately 19 miles offshore. This location is about 31 miles southwest of the city of Kristiansand. Its strategic position has made it an essential navigation point for ships for centuries. The first lighthouse was built in 1656, making it one of the oldest in Norway. The current structure was completed in 1915, using concrete and metal to withstand harsh weather conditions. The lighting system uses a Fresnel lens to enhance visibility over long distances. Over time, several upgrades have been carried out to ensure continuous operation. The surrounding area consists mainly of bare rock with very few tall plants due to strong winds throughout the year. Vegetation includes moss, low grass, and salt-tolerant plants growing on rocky surfaces. Seabirds such as gulls and seabirds are commonly found in large numbers. Despite harsh climate conditions, a distinct coastal ecosystem is maintained. The lighthouse is now a popular tourist destination, attracting around 100,000 to 150,000 visitors annually. Visitors can climb the tower, which is about 52 feet tall, to observe the surrounding sea. The site also includes a museum and information center for visitors. Management focuses on preserving the historic structure and ensuring visitor safety. Fjell is a monument located along the shore of Hafrsfjord, about 4 miles southwest of central Stavanger. 3 giant swords are planted directly into the rock, with the largest reaching about 33 feet in height, creating a clear focal point within the open space. Its position, right by the water, connects the structure closely with the calm surface of the fjord. The entire area is almost completely unobstructed, offering a wide horizon view. The swords were not built for decoration, but carry a specific historical meaning. The monument was completed in 1983 to commemorate the Battle of Hafrsfjord around the year 872. The three swords symbolize opposing forces and the unification that followed the victory. Stainless steel material helps the structure remain stable against strong coastal winds and high humidity. The site receives about 200,000 visitors each year, with direct access from nearby roads without long travel distances. Visitors usually walk around the area and take photographs of the monument. The open space allows free movement without clear barriers. Management focuses on maintaining the monument's surface and preserving the natural landscape. Flor of Fjæra Gardens is located on a small island near Stavanger, about 6 miles from the mainland and covering an area of approximately 1.5 hectares. The garden is completely surrounded by seawater, with terrain elevation ranging from about 7 to 49 feet above sea level. More than 50,000 trees and plants are cultivated here, forming a dense green layer within a cold marine environment. This contrast creates a space that stands out clearly from the surrounding landscape. The development began in the 1960s on nutrient-poor rocky ground, later improved with hundreds of tons of soil transported from the mainland. A maintenance system was designed to support more than 1,000 plant species. Trees, such as palms, ranging from about 10 to 26 feet in height, bamboo, and many tropical flowers are arranged in separate zones. This reflects a high level of technical intervention to sustain an artificial ecosystem. The visitor route usually lasts from 2 to 3 hours, with paths guiding movement through each section. Some segments open directly toward the water, where the distance is only a few feet, while others are enclosed by trees 10 to 26 feet tall. The transition between open and enclosed spaces occurs continuously with each step. The entire garden operates as a tightly controlled sequence of landscape experiences. Hidra Island lies off the southern coast of Norway, about 0.6 miles from the mainland, and covering nearly 7.7 square miles. The island is surrounded by small bays and rocky shores mixed with low coastal land. Elevation rises from sea level up to about 955 feet at its highest point, creating a clear transition between spatial layers. From a distance, the island appears as a landmass divided by irregular curving shorelines. The geological structure of the island is formed from ancient rock masses hundreds of millions of years old, mainly granite and gneiss. Over time, erosion has created cliffs, fractures, and small flat areas. The total area of nearly 7.7 square miles includes both settlements and undeveloped natural zones. These characteristics clearly reflect the long geological history of the region. The island's ecosystem combines sparse forests, grasslands, and coastal environments. Many seabirds, fish, and small organisms inhabit the surrounding bays and shallow waters. Vegetation adapts to strong winds and rocky soil, forming an uneven surface cover. This diversity creates a stable ecosystem within a marine environment. Settlements on the island are scattered, with a population of only a few hundred people, connected by several miles of roads and a short ferry route from the mainland. Daily activities are closely linked to fishing and marine transport. Small roads follow the terrain, forming flexible movement routes. The living space maintains a balance between human presence and the natural environment. Kvitsøy Island is a small island located off the southwestern coast of Norway in Rogaland, about 12 miles from the city of Stavanger. The island covers a total area of around 6 square kilometers, making it one of the smallest municipalities in Norway. The terrain mainly consists of low, rocky surfaces mixed with coastal grasslands, without high mountains or dense forests. The open and flat landscape creates wide views over the surrounding North Sea. The island has a long history, connected to maritime activity and fishing. Kvitsøy Lighthouse was built in 1700 and is one of the oldest lighthouses in the region. Buildings on the island are generally low and scattered, adapted to strong wind conditions. Over centuries, residents have maintained a lifestyle closely tied to the sea and natural resources. The natural environment is strongly influenced by the oceanic climate, with winds frequently reaching 12 to 19 miles per hour. Vegetation mainly includes low grass, moss, and salt-tolerant plants growing on rocky ground. Many seabird species live and nest here, especially during breeding seasons. The ecosystem is simple but stable due to relatively consistent natural conditions. Kvitsøy Island currently has around 500 to 600 residents and receives a moderate number of tourists each year. Ferry routes connect the island to the mainland regularly, with travel times of about 30 to 40 minutes. Visitors often come to experience the quiet environment and observe coastal scenery. Management focuses on maintaining living conditions and preserving the island's natural characteristics. Åkrasanden Beach lies along the western coast of Norway, stretching about 1.9 miles with a distinctive strip of fine white sand. The beach ranges from about 164 to over 328 feet in width, creating an open space facing the North Sea. The terrain elevation varies only from about 3 to 13 feet above sea level, making the surface nearly flat. From a distance, the entire area appears as a bright strip, contrasting against the darker ocean. This shoreline was formed from post-glacial sand deposits left behind as ice retreated. Over thousands of years, waves and wind redistributed the sand, creating a long and relatively stable beach. The coastal area covers several square miles, including low dunes and shallow waters. These factors clearly reflect the geological formation process of the region. The ecosystem includes coastal vegetation and migratory bird species. Low dunes ranging from about 7 to 16 feet in height play a role in stabilizing and protecting the sand surface. Shallow waters provide feeding grounds for birds and small marine organisms. This distribution creates a system well adapted to strong wind conditions. Access paths and entry points are arranged along the beach every few hundred feet, maintaining a balance between use and preservation. Some sections open directly to the sea, while others are shielded by dunes several feet high. Moving along the 1.9-mile stretch, the perception of space changes continuously with terrain and wind direction. The entire beach functions as a simple yet dynamically changing landscape system. Oberstad Lighthouse is a lighthouse located on the southwestern coast of Norway in Rogaland, about 40 miles south of Stavanger. The structure stands about 52 feet tall and is built close to the shoreline on low, flat ground. Its light can be seen from about 19 miles offshore, playing an important role in guiding ships. The surrounding area is open and unobstructed by higher terrain. This area receives about 50,000 to 80,000 visitors annually, mostly those seeking a quiet space. Visitors can access the site directly by road and walk around within a range of a few hundred feet. Activities mainly include observing the sea and taking photographs. Management focuses on preserving the structure and maintaining the surrounding natural conditions. Today, it remains only about 66 to 98 feet away due to continuous erosion. The lighthouse rises about 75 feet high, standing out among massive shifting sand dunes. Each year, the cliff retreats inland by about 3 to 7 feet. This change steadily pushes the structure closer to collapse. Inside the structure, a spiral staircase leads to the top at over 70 feet, where views extend for dozens of miles along the coastline. However, the visible landscape does not remain constant and changes year by year. Sand dunes rising from about 66 to 131 feet shift under strong winds, sometimes burying the base of the structure. This makes the lighthouse both an observation point and an object of transformation. Coastal winds can reach speeds of about 19 to 37 miles per hour, continuously transporting sand inland. Large sand masses move several feet each year, reshaping the terrain. Vegetation can hardly establish itself due to constant movement. The entire area exists as a system in motion. Standing near the structure, the boundary between land and sea becomes uncertain, especially along cliffs over about 197 feet high. Within just a few years, sections of land can disappear completely due to erosion. The lighthouse is no longer just a navigational structure, but a marker of landscape change. The space here is defined by constant movement and loss. Grenen is the northernmost point of Denmark, where the Skagerrak and Kattegat seas meet, located near the town of Skagen, and about 25 miles from Frederikshavn. This stretch of land extends about 2 to 2.5 miles into the sea, with a surface mainly composed of sand and gravel. A notable feature is the visible collision of two water bodies with different colors. The area is completely open, with no major obstacles in the line of sight. In this area, the shoreline is not fixed but changes due to currents and sea winds. Sandbars can shift slightly, forming different shapes over time. Water from both sides meets and creates clearly visible intersecting wave patterns. This phenomenon occurs continuously and can be observed directly. The ground consists of fine sand mixed with small gravel, without dense vegetation. There are no tall trees or structures blocking the view. Seabirds frequently appear, especially near the meeting point of the currents. The overall landscape remains simple, with few major changes. This area attracts about 500,000 visitors each year, making it one of Denmark's notable destinations. Visitors can walk about 1 to 2 miles from the parking area to reach the tip. Small transport vehicles are also used on the sand. Management focuses on safety and environmental protection. Råbjergmile is a massive sand formation located near Skagen in northern Denmark, about 12 miles from Frederikshavn. But what stands out is not its location, but its movement. This dune rises about 131 feet high and covers nearly 0.77 square miles, forming a bright surface against the darker surrounding land. There is no clear boundary between the dune and the mainland, only a gradual transition of sand. From a distance, the entire area appears like a surface slowly drifting. Nothing here truly remains still. The sand mass moves steadily, about 33 to 49 feet per year, enough to shift its entire position over a few decades. Whatever lies ahead, from bare ground to low vegetation, can be covered over time. The change does not happen suddenly, but accumulates gradually. This makes the landscape feel constantly in progress. Some sections of sand are flat, with almost no traces, then suddenly rise into slopes reaching dozens of feet within a short distance. Each step leaves a mark that is quickly erased by the wind. There are no tall trees or fixed objects for reference. Only sand, wind, and constantly shifting patterns remain. Movement here does not resemble walking on stable ground. A distance of 0.6 to 2 miles can completely change depending on wind direction. There are no clear paths, and each person adjusts direction step by step. The space is wide but does not feel confined. Everything depends on the movement of the dune itself. Thy National Park is the first national park of Denmark, located in the northwestern part of the Jutland Peninsula and covering about 93 square miles along the North Sea coast. The area includes sand dunes, sparse forests, and small lakes, creating a diverse landscape. The coastline stretches over 31 miles, opening into wide and continuous sandy beaches. The entire environment remains open without being enclosed by high terrain. Within the park, natural areas are preserved with very few man-made structures. Trails ranging from 1 to 6 miles are arranged to pass through different types of terrain. Some areas still show traces of past human activity, but they do not dominate the space. The layout creates a sense of openness with minimal fragmentation. Vegetation changes across the park, from low grass on dunes to sparse pine forests inland. Small lakes, ranging from a few thousand to tens of thousands of square feet, are scattered throughout the area. Various animal species inhabit the park, including birds, deer, and smaller wildlife. This diversity results from the interaction between sand, water, and plant life. The park receives about 200,000 to 300,000 visitors annually, mainly those seeking natural experiences. Visitors can walk or cycle along routes ranging from 3 to 12 miles. Activities are spread across the entire area rather than concentrated in one location. Management focuses on ecosystem conservation and limiting human impact. Farno Island beaches stretch along the western coast of Denmark as a continuous sandy strip about 9.3 miles long. In many sections, the beach expands from about 984 to over 2,625 feet in width at low tide, creating a nearly boundless open space. The terrain elevation ranges only from about 3 to 16 feet above sea level, making the surface almost completely flat. Within each tidal cycle of about 12 hours, water levels can change by about 3 to 7 feet, exposing hundreds of hectares of tidal flats. Moist sand layers reflect light, forming bright surfaces stretching hundreds of feet. Small water channels about 3 to 16 feet wide continuously shift and change position over time. Sand dunes, ranging from about 13 to 39 feet in height, lie inland, running parallel to the shoreline and acting as wind barriers. Low vegetation, usually under about 3 feet tall, grows on the sand to stabilize the surface. Thousands to tens of thousands of seabirds gather in moist zones during migration seasons. Their distribution shifts within several hundred feet, depending on moisture and water levels. When moving across sandy areas hundreds of feet wide, visibility can extend from about 2 to 4 miles horizontally. Tracks, such as tire marks or footprints a few inches deep, can disappear within 15 to 30 minutes due to wind and water. No fixed structure preserves marks for long on this surface. The entire beach operates as a space constantly reshaped over time. Of Denmark, mainly around the Klitmøller area and stretching about 31 miles. This area is known for wide sandy beaches, gentle slopes, and a direct exposure to the North Sea. Waves here form consistently due to seabed structure and offshore winds. The coastal space is completely open without obstruction from higher terrain. Along this coastline, surf spots are spaced about 1 to 6 miles apart, each with different wave conditions and depths. Some locations are suitable for beginners, while others offer stronger waves for experienced surfers. Facilities such as surf schools and equipment rentals are found near major beaches. Development is controlled to preserve the natural landscape. The water surface is strongly influenced by sea winds, producing continuous waves with an average height of about 3 to 10 feet. The sandy seabed shifts slightly over time, affecting wave formation. Seabirds frequently appear along the shore, moving with wind currents. The combination of wind, water, and terrain creates ideal surfing conditions. This area attracts about 200,000 visitors annually, especially during peak surfing seasons. Visitors travel between spots using coastal routes ranging from 3 to 9 miles. Main activities include surfing, observing the sea, and participating in small sporting events. Management focuses on safety and coastal environmental protection. Rømø Island opens as a vast, flat surface where sand and sea merge, especially in sections where the beach reaches from about 1,640 to over 3,280 feet in width at low tide. Along a length of about 6.2 to 7.5 miles, the sea can retreat an additional 0.6 to 1.2 miles from the original shoreline. Winds from the North Sea often reach speeds of about 12 to 25 miles per hour, sweeping across the sand and forming continuous ripple patterns. Within each tidal cycle of about 12 hours, Water levels can change by about 3 to 7 feet, exposing hundreds of hectares of tidal flats. Moist sand layers reflect light, creating bright surfaces stretching hundreds of feet. Small water channels, only about 3 to 10 feet wide, continuously shift direction as they flow back to the sea. Sand dunes, ranging from about 10 to 33 feet in height, extend parallel to the coastline, acting as a natural boundary between land and tidal zones. Low vegetation, mostly under about 1.5 feet tall, grows on the sand to resist strong winds and erosion. Thousands of seabirds gather in moist areas, especially during migration seasons lasting several months. When moving by vehicle across sandy surfaces hundreds of feet wide, visibility can extend from about 2 to 3 miles horizontally. Tire tracks only a few inches deep can disappear completely within 10 to 20 minutes under the effect of wind. No fixed structure preserves marks for long on this surface. The entire landscape operates as a system constantly reshaped over time. Skallingen Peninsula is a narrow strip of land located on the southwestern coast of Denmark, about 6 miles from the city of Esbjerg and extending roughly 9 miles into the North Sea. The entire peninsula is formed from sand and sediment, creating a low surface almost level with sea level. There is no clear boundary between land and water, only continuous transition zones. From a distance, the area appears as a pale strip between the blue of the sea and the lagoon. Here, the ground is not truly fixed like other land areas. Some sandy sections change shape after each tidal cycle, forming new outlines. Water flows into low areas and then recedes, leaving different surface layers within just a few hours. This constant change prevents the landscape from ever repeating exactly. Looking closely at the ground, small clusters of low grass can be seen, scattered and holding onto thin layers of sand. There are no tall trees or barriers, only small green patches across the pale surface. Migratory birds often appear in large flocks, creating sudden movement across the open space. Life here exists in a light and dispersed way, rather than concentrating in one place. Movement across this area does not follow a fixed path, but depends on the terrain underfoot. Walkers often change direction when encountering shallow water or soft sand. A distance of 1 to 4 miles can feel longer due to the open space and lack of clear landmarks. The experience depends entirely on timing and surface conditions. Ringkøbing Fjord stretches out like a continuous body of water with an area of about 115.8 square miles, where most of the depth ranges only from 4.9 to 6.6 feet. There is no clear stratification. The entire lagoon responds directly to the wind, creating small waves that move almost uniformly along its length of about 18.6 miles. The flat and open water surface allows for an uninterrupted line of sight without fragmentation. As a result, the sense of space remains stable, but not completely static. To the west, a coastal sand strip about 0.6 to 1.2 miles wide acts as a natural boundary between the lagoon and the North Sea. However, this separation does not create a complete sense of division, but instead forms two parallel spaces. Within the lagoon, shallow areas of about 1.6 to 3.3 feet are interspersed with deeper zones near 6.6 feet. These variations create subtle shifts in the color of the water surface. Access to the area is typically associated with shoreline points where the terrain is low and easy to traverse. Visitors can choose to stop briefly at different segments to observe how the water surface changes with distance. A journey of 3.1 to 9.3 miles is not only movement, but also a continuous process of observation. The value of the experience lies in recognizing subtle differences between areas that may initially seem similar. Viasanda Harbour is located on a narrow strip of land separating the North Sea and Ringkøbing Fjord, where a canal approximately 0.75 miles long cuts across the entire area. The harbour was built in 1931 and developed along an axis extending over 1.24 miles, forming a straight and continuous water corridor. The water surface width ranges from about 656 to 984 feet, wide enough for multiple vessels to move simultaneously. This location allows ships to access two bodies of water within minutes without complex route changes. The areas within the harbour are not clearly separated, but instead follow one another along its length. Mooring docks, operational zones, and technical areas are interspersed within a range of about 1.24 to 1.86 miles, creating an uneven distribution. Fishing vessels ranging from 33 to 98 feet in length often gather in small groups before moving continuously according to schedule. The number of vessel movements can range from a few dozen to over 100 per day. Movement around the harbor does not form a continuous route, but is often interrupted. A distance of about 1.24 to 3.11 miles may be divided into several disconnected segments, requiring people to change direction or turn back. Open space combined with vessel activity gives each location a different perception. The experience depends heavily on timing and specific areas. Lyngvig Lighthouse is a lighthouse located on the coastal dune strip in western Denmark, about 3.7 miles from the town of Hvidesande. The structure was built in 1906 with a tower height of about 125 feet and positioned on a dune rising about 56 feet above sea level. The total observation height, therefore, reaches approximately 180 feet, allowing views over the North Sea and Ringkøbing Fjord. It is one of the few landmarks that can be identified from distances exceeding 6.2 miles. Inside the lighthouse, a spiral staircase of about 228 steps leads to the top. The interior diameter is only about 6.5 to 10 feet, creating a confined and repetitive spatial experience. The temperature inside is typically 35.6 to 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit, lower than outside due to thick walls and limited direct light. The average climbing time is about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on crowd density and walking pace. From the top, visibility can reach a radius of 9.3 to 12.4 miles under favorable weather conditions. The North Sea lies to the west, while Ringkøbing Fjord extends to the east, forming two clearly contrasting bodies of water. The dune strips below range from 656 to 1,640 feet in width, interspersed with small depressions. From above, the spatial structure becomes clearer, with boundaries and directional features easier to recognize. Helgoland Cliffs are a system of coastal cliffs located on Helgoland Island in the North Sea of Germany, about 43.5 miles from the mainland. The cliffs are mainly composed of red sandstone, with an average height ranging from 98 to 197 feet above sea level. Some of the highest points can reach nearly 213 feet, creating a clearly vertical surface. This is one of the few areas in Germany where sea cliff terrain is strongly developed. The cliff surface is strongly affected by wind and sea waves, with an average erosion rate of a few inches per year. The rock layers have a clearly stratified structure, easily visible from close distances. Some areas at the base of the cliffs contain fallen rock blocks, ranging from 3 to 16 feet in size, formed by natural collapse processes. Waves can reach heights of 6.5 to 13 feet under strong wind conditions. This area is home to many seabird species, with flocks reaching thousands of individuals during the breeding season. Birds often nest directly on narrow rock ledges, only 8 to 20 inches wide. The space, therefore, is not only defined by terrain, but also by continuous movement from bird activity. Visibility from the top of the cliffs can extend 6.2 to 9.3 miles out to sea under favorable weather conditions. Wadden National Park does not exist as a fixed landmass, but as a system that changes according to cycles. Within about 12 hours and 25 minutes, more than 60% of its over 3,088 square miles can shift from submerged to fully exposed. The average depth is only about 3.3 to 9.8 feet, allowing these changes to occur across a wide scale. A single area can turn into exposed mudflats, extending 3.1 to 9.3 miles within just a few hours. The flow speed within the channels can reach 3.3 to 6.6 feet per second, enough to restructure the surface in a short time. Sediment layers range from a few inches to over 3.3 feet in thickness, constantly shifting and redistributing. Some areas can visibly change shape within a few months without extreme events. All transformations occur as a continuous process rather than separate stages. The ecosystem develops based on this instability, with organism densities reaching thousands of individuals per square foot. Millions of migratory birds stop here in cycles, concentrating in exposed zones for short periods. Space is not defined by geographic boundaries, but by timing within the cycle. The same location can take on two completely different states within a single day. St. Peter-Ording Beach does not begin as a typical beach, but as a plain extending without limit, stretching about 7.5 miles along the North Sea. At low tide, its width can reach 0.6 to 1.2 miles, completely dissolving the usual boundary between land and water. With an elevation of only about 3 to 10 feet above sea level, the entire space appears almost perfectly horizontal. Under clear visibility, distances of 6.2 to 9.3 miles no longer feel like fixed limits, but fade into a gradual horizon. The tidal cycle, lasting about 12 hours, not only changes the water level by 6.5 to 10 feet, but also restructures the entire surface. Shallow channels, 6.5 to 65 feet wide, appear and disappear, acting like temporary cuts across the sand plain. A journey of 1.9 to 3.7 miles may take 1 to 1.5 hours, yet the perception of distance is often stretched due to the absence of landmarks. Direction is not fixed but continuously adjusted according to subtle surface changes. Stilt houses spaced 0.3 to 0.6 miles apart do not function as destinations, but as temporary markers within an unstable space. Seabirds, numbering from dozens to hundreds, move in groups and disperse quickly. The space has no clear center, existing instead as an open field where the observer's position constantly shifts in relation to everything around them. Amrum Lighthouse does not function merely as a fixed structure, but as a reference point within a constantly shifting spatial system on Amrum Island. The lighthouse stands about 137 feet tall, positioned on terrain elevated approximately 82 feet above sea level. This creates a total observation height exceeding 197 feet, allowing its light to travel across dozens of miles. The light range reaches about 23 to 26 nautical miles, equivalent to more than 25 to 30 miles. From a height exceeding 197 feet, the observation range can extend 360 degrees with minimal obstruction. Clear visibility can reach about 6 to 12 miles, depending on spatial conditions. Surrounding areas, including tidal flats and open sea, continuously change state over a cycle of about 12 hours and 25 minutes. This means that the same viewing direction can present entirely different structures within a single day. The function of the lighthouse lies not in change, but in remaining constant within a shifting environment. The flashing frequency and signal cycle are fixed to ensure recognition. While surrounding elements may shift by feet or miles, this point maintains absolute position. Stability becomes the only reliable reference. Fur Island does not appear as an infinitely open surface, but as a space that has been contained and organized. With an area of about 31.7 square miles and an average elevation of 6.5 to 16 feet above sea level. The tidal cycle still changes approximately every 12 hours, with a range of 6.5 to 10 feet, but its effects do not spread evenly across the island. Dikes and elevated land control most inhabited areas, leaving tidal flats mainly at the outer edges. When the water recedes, the surface expands by 0.6 Movement on the island does not rely entirely on natural terrain, but follows existing routes ranging from 1.9 to 6.2 miles between villages. The surface consists mainly of grassland and compacted soil, with vegetation about 0.3 to 1.6 feet high, causing minimal obstruction. Sea winds ranging from 19.7 to 39.4 feet per second continue to affect the area. The space on the island does not expand in a single direction, but is divided into multiple identifiable zones. Boundaries are not straight lines, but transitions between grassland, settlements, and coastal areas. Visibility of 5 to 7.5 miles still exists, but is always held by concrete elements. Instead of extending infinitely, the space is segmented and stabilized into distinct parts. Borkum Island does not exist as a stable landmass, but as a system continuously reshaped under the influence of the North Sea. The island extends about 19.3 miles in length and ranges from 2.5 to 4.3 miles in width, with most of its surface lying only about 3.3 to 9.8 feet above sea level. Within each cycle of about 12 hours and 25 minutes, coastal areas can shift between submerged and fully exposed states. Sandy zones may expand an additional 328 to 984 feet during low tide, then rapidly contract as water rises. These changes do not occur only at the shoreline, but affect the structure of the entire coastal zone. Sand dune systems on the island can reach heights of about 16 to 66 feet, but their positions are not fixed over time. Wind can shift sand surfaces by several feet each year, forming new shapes and removing older structures. In this environment, location is not determined by terrain shape, but by rare stable reference points. Traveling distances of about 1.9 to 6.2 miles may not clearly reflect change without observing over time. Tides, wind, and currents act together to continuously restructure the entire area. The island does not maintain a fixed state, but exists as an ongoing process. Joust Island is not defined by its length of about 10.6 miles, but by its width of only about 1,640 to 3,280 feet. In many locations, the distance from one shoreline to the other can be crossed within 10 to 20 minutes. At any position on the island, influences from both sides are never fully isolated. A change on one side can affect the entire width within less than 3,280 feet. This creates a condition of forced connectivity across all sections of the island. No area exists as a structurally independent unit. Sand ridges and dunes with heights of about 10 to 33 feet do not form complete barriers. They only slow down change rather than prevent it. A location may retain its form for a few months before being restructured without clear traces. Stability exists only over short time frames. Traveling distances of about 1.2 to 2.5 miles along the island may not produce noticeable differences in shape when observed at a single moment. Differences are not defined spatially, but by changes over time. Joust is not a place to simply pass through, but a structure that must be monitored. Its form only gains meaning within a sequence of transformations. Nymindegab Dunes is a coastal dune system located on the west coast of Denmark, stretching about 7.5 miles between the North Sea and Ringkøbing Fjord, less than 1.2 miles from the settlement of Nymindegab. The terrain here is low and flat, with a typical elevation of only about 10 to 26 feet above sea level, forming a continuous light-colored strip between two large bodies of water. Movement in this area does not follow fixed paths, but depends on the sandy surface and scattered shallow water zones. A journey of 1.9 to 4.3 miles usually takes about 2 to 4 hours, as walkers must constantly adjust direction. The open space lacks clear landmarks, making distances feel longer than they actually are. The dune surface constantly changes under the influence of wind and tides. Some areas can shift several feet per year, reshaping the terrain. Temporary depressions hold water with widths of about 16 to 66 feet before drying quickly, creating different surface layers within a short time. Vegetation appears sparsely in the form of low grass clusters, about 0.3 to 1 foot tall, anchored to thin sand layers. There are no large trees or barriers, leaving the entire space open. Flocks of seabirds often appear in groups of hundreds, creating noticeable movement across the wide sky. Nordic Island does not function as a fragmented space, but as a land strip with a clear axis extending about 8.7 miles from east to west, with an area of about 10 square miles and an average elevation of 6.5 to 20 feet above sea level. The influence of tides with a range of 6.5 to 10 feet over a 12-hour cycle remains present, but is strongly controlled in developed areas. Dikes and coastal structures stabilize the western section, while the eastern part opens into sandy beaches and natural zones. When the water recedes, the surface may expand by 0.6 to 1.2 miles. The network of paths across the island ranges from 1.2 to 5 miles, connecting urban areas, beaches, and natural zones. The surface transitions from paved roads to sand or compacted soil with low vegetation of 0.3 to 1.3 feet in less developed areas. space on Norderney is not uniform, but gradually shifts from dense to sparse along the island's length. Visibility can reach 5 to 9.3 miles in open areas, but varies depending on position along this axis. The zones are not isolated, but connected in a continuous sequence. The experience is therefore linear, not scattered or undefined. Langeoog Island exists as a low-lying land strip with an average elevation of only about 3 to 16 feet above sea level, rarely exceeding 26 feet at the highest dune points. This minimal variation places the entire island almost on a continuous flat plane. The width of the island varies significantly, from about 0.6 miles at its narrowest sections to over 1.2 miles in wider areas. The distance from the settlement area to the northern beach is typically around 1,640 to 2,950 feet, which can be covered in about 10 to 20 minutes. Main paths across the island range from about 1.2 to 3.7 miles in length, with typical widths of 6.5 to 13 feet. There are no roads for large motor vehicles, so path dimensions remain small and consistent. Buildings usually stand between 16 to 33 feet tall, staying within the overall visual scale of the terrain. Visibility across the island can extend 5 to 7.5 miles under clear conditions, but the low observation height keeps everything on a single plane. There is no vertical layering, only gradual variation across distance. Areas are not separated, but lie adjacent within a few hundred feet. The island does not expand vertically, but spreads horizontally. Schiermonnikoog Island does not maintain a fixed position over time, but gradually shifts eastward at a rate of about 33 to 66 feet per year. With a length of about 9.9 miles and a width ranging from 1.2 to 3.7 miles, the entire island functions more as a moving mass than a fixed structure. This process occurs due to the combination of waves, currents, and longshore sediment transport. Sand is eroded on the western side and gradually accumulates on the eastern side, creating lateral movement. Within a few years, one area may disappear while another forms several hundred feet away. The change is uneven but continuous. The typical elevation of the island is only about 3.3 to 9.8 feet above sea level, allowing any variation to affect the entire surface. Dune systems can reach about 16 to 66 feet in height, but they do not remain fixed over long periods. A structure that exists for a few years may be completely redistributed. No part of the island maintains a permanent state. Traveling distances of about 1.9 to 5 miles across the island may not clearly reflect change when observed at a single moment. Differences only appear when compared over longer time sequences. Shiamonekug cannot be understood as a form at a single moment. It can only be understood as a continuous process of movement. Wangaroja Island exists as a buffering point within a coastal system with a length of about 5 miles and a width ranging from about 1,640 to 6,560 feet. Unlike islands that visibly migrate, its structure is constrained by fixed elements. In coastal sections, change still occurs across segments extending a few hundred feet. Some reinforced areas may remain stable for many years, while others experience erosion of several feet per year. This creates a surface with uneven levels of transformation. Not all parts of the island change at the same rate. Sand ridges and dunes with heights of about 10 to 26 feet act as a buffer between the sea and inland areas. However, they do not function as absolute barriers, but only slow down external impacts. A section may retain its form for long periods. Traveling distances of about 1.2 to 3.7 miles across the island reveals clear differences between stable zones and areas undergoing change. One section may remain unchanged for years, while another evolves continuously. Wangarooj is neither fully stable nor fully dynamic. It exists as an intermediate state between these two extremes. Newark Island is not perceived as a land strip, but as a fixed point within a much larger surrounding emptiness. The entire island covers only about 1.2 square miles, and most of its space is enclosed within a dike system rising about 16 to 23 feet. At the center, the Newark Tower, about 148 feet tall, is not just a structure, but the only axis of the island. Within a radius of less than 0.6 miles, it remains visible from every position without obstruction. No other element competes in height or orientation. The space, therefore, does not spread, but converges. Distances between elements are short. From the tower to the dike is about 980 to 2,625 feet, which can be walked in under 15 minutes. There is no complex path network, only a few direct routes connecting points. Movement does not create options, but leads back to the center. Direction is therefore almost predetermined. Newark does not create a sense of exploration across width, but feels like standing within a completed system. Within several miles around, no equivalent structure appears. The tower remains the only element rising above everything else. The space does not change with position, but maintains the same logic everywhere. St. Peter Ording Lighthouse is about 118 feet tall and is located on a sandy area extending for several miles. The ground elevation is only about 3.3 to 6.6 feet above sea level, creating a clear contrast between the structure and its surroundings. Within a range of about 1,640 feet to 1.2 miles around the lighthouse, the sand surface remains nearly flat, with a very gentle slope. Receding water lines and wind patterns create streaks ranging from several feet to hundreds of feet in length. As tides shift, the waterline can advance or retreat by hundreds of feet within about 12 hours and 25 minutes. This alters the proportion between water and sand around the lighthouse. A location may be close to the shoreline at one moment and several hundred feet away at another. The structure remains fixed, while its surroundings continuously change. In the area around the lighthouse, differences in surface reflectivity can be observed within a range of about 328 to 1,640 feet. Dry sand appears lighter, while wet sand forms darker zones extending for dozens of feet. These changes create alternating patterns of light and dark across the surface. Such patterns can shift within a few hours without any change in the structure's position. Zaanse is a historic area featuring traditional windmills located along the Zaan River. Most of the current structures were built during the 17th and 18th centuries. The area once served as an early industrial center, with hundreds of windmills operating simultaneously. These windmills were used for various purposes, including grain milling, wood sawing, and oil pressing. Each windmill stands about 49 to 98 feet tall and uses blades measuring about 33 to 66 feet in length to capture wind energy. When wind force is applied, the rotating blades transfer motion into an internal gear system. This mechanism converts wind energy into mechanical motion. Depending on the design, this motion is used for different functions. The structures are arranged along the riverbank to take advantage of stable wind flow from open space. The distance between windmills typically ranges from about 328 to 984 feet to reduce interference. This arrangement helps maintain consistent operational efficiency. Each windmill can function independently within the system. In addition to windmills, the area includes traditional wooden houses and craft workshops. These structures directly support the operation of the windmills. Wood is the primary construction material suited to local environmental conditions. The entire area represents a production system combining structures and natural resources. Texel Island is the largest island in the Wadden archipelago of the Netherlands, with an area of about 179 square miles and a length of about 15.5 miles. The island's terrain includes dune systems, low grasslands, and wetlands. Most of the surface lies close to sea level, making water management systems essential. Areas on the island are separated by dikes and artificial canals. Coastal dunes can reach heights of about 16 to 82 feet and function as natural barriers against sea waves. These dunes are formed through sand accumulation, driven by wind and coastal currents. Low vegetation helps stabilize the sand surface and reduce erosion. When vegetation is disrupted, sand can shift and alter dune shapes. A system of canals and control gates allows regulation of water levels in inland areas. Water is directed through channels extending for several miles before being discharged into the sea. Elevation differences are typically around 3.3 to 6.6 feet, sufficient to maintain controlled flow. Regulation helps prevent flooding and supports agricultural land use. Texel also contains multiple protected areas with high concentrations of migratory birds during different seasons. Some zones can record thousands of individuals at the same time. This distribution changes according to migration cycles and environmental conditions. It creates noticeable variation in biological density across the island over time. Afsluitdijk is a dam about 19.9 miles long, completed in 1932 to separate the North Sea from the Zuiderzee Inlet. After the structure was closed, the inner water body became the freshwater lake IJsselmeer. This transformation completely altered the hydrological structure of the region. A saltwater system was replaced by a controlled freshwater system. The structure has a width of about 295 feet and an average height of about 23 to 26 feet above sea level. The inner core is made of sand, reinforced externally with stone and erosion-resistant materials. When waves impact, the outer layer disperses energy before it reaches the core. This helps maintain long-term structural stability. Along the dam, sluices and pumping stations are installed to regulate water levels. When elevation differences allow, water is discharged naturally into the sea. When sea levels are high, pumping systems are activated to maintain flow. This mechanism ensures continuous regulation under varying conditions. The surface of the dam functions as a transportation route, extending across its full length of about 19.9 miles. Vehicles can travel directly between two land regions without detours. Integrating transport infrastructure into the structure optimizes land use. A single construction performs multiple functions simultaneously. Dunkirk Beach is one of the few environments where spatial orientation becomes unstable on a moving surface. Within distances of a few hundred feet, there are no nearby fixed objects that can serve as reference points. The horizon remains constant, but does not provide distance information. This makes spatial estimation unreliable. As movement continues across the sand, traces left behind do not persist long enough to form a path. Footprints can disappear within minutes due to wind or water. There is no accumulation of information over time on the surface. Each step is not linked to the previous one. At distances of about 328 to 984 feet from the waterline, the surface reflects light in a way that reduces contrast. Wet sand creates an effect similar to shallow water, making boundaries difficult to distinguish. This reduces the ability to perceive depth. Visibility remains long, but lacks directional data. In these conditions, space is not physically limited, but is limited in perception. An observer can see far, but cannot determine relative position. This creates an environment where movement does not correspond with clear orientation. The beach functions as a space without fixed reference anchors.